Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new revenge stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
First one is titled, "You think you can harass me and get away with it? Well, let me embarrass you to death." So this one coworker of mine was in a hole and a pervert. He's in his late 40s with a penchant for young women in their early 20s. I was only 22 when it happened. I was only working there at the company part-time. He had tried to playfully force himself on me a few times. Like he would pretend to trip over his own foot or something and immediately grab my hand and hug me. But since it was supposed to be a joke, there was nothing really I could do about it. It was all in good spirit, right? He always went like, "Oops. Sorry. Just joking." And seriously, I could not even ask him to stop since at the time I didn't think it could be categorized as sexual harassment because it was just a harmful joke. Not to mention he's also the manager of marketing department I was in, so he had power over subordinates like myself. I tried to avoid him to no avail since it seemed like he had taken a particular liking to me and always looked for an opportunity to be around me. After weeks of constant harassment, I had finally had enough of his BS but was still hesitant to speak out. One morning though I had my chance to avenge myself. During a meeting, he was screen mirroring his phone on a projector to show a progress chart or something. I thought, this is my chance. Okay, for information, where I am you can easily get new numbers for your cellular phones. They are sold everywhere and with very low prices. And also there used to be a time when you could use fake identity for your new number. You can't anymore. So I texted him something as nasty as possible using a new number which I only used for internet and messing with my friends. Then I waited until the message window popped up on the screen and then I turned my phone off. Luckily he had set his phone to show the whole message on the pop-up. It read something like this: "Hey, you really like me fingering your butt, don't you? But maybe consider anal douching first if we're gonna do it again?" I had never seen anybody's face look that red in my entire life before. He was talking to our general manager when the pop-up appeared on his screen. When he finally saw it, it was too late. Everyone had seen it. From then on, every time he tried to pull his touchy-feely stunt on me again, I would just laugh and play along and go, "Watch your finger." That always silenced him good. He then always avoided me until my last day working there. Next one is titled, "Don't Want to Be Reasonable? Watch Your Event Go Under." I worked for an events hire company. We supplied everything from AV to display stands, fencing, staging, etc. So I worked with an organizer that was looking to host a beer and wine festival. We had multiple meetings and provided far too many quotes and prices. But eventually, it paid off and she signed off to work with us. Fast forward about 2 weeks later, I have had little contact from her, which was very unusual. Out of the blue, she emails me saying that they had found a cheaper supplier, almost half the price, and that we were ripping her off. If we didn't void the contract and return the deposit, she would take legal action. Our prices were very fair and competitive with our main competition. So this really didn't make sense at all as to why it would be so insanely cheap. I've had this happen before, and in my experience, it's just best to let these organizers go, rip up the contract and return the deposit. If you force them to work with you, it becomes an absolute nightmare and just isn't worth it in the long run, as you work with these people for months leading up to the event. The event was still a while away as well, so I was confident I could fill in the spot with another. Fast forward to only 3 days before the festival opens and I get a call from the organizer. "Organizer, you have to help me." It's organizer. Me. Sure, what's up? Organizer. The supplier has arrived to install and the equipment is unusable. The marquees are ripped, displays can barely stand up, and they didn't bring any avenue. It's a disaster. Me. Okay, so before I go back to my team, are you needing everything we quoted you, right now? Organizer. Yes, everything. I go back to my team, and although we had a bid on, we agreed we could supply what she needed in time, but would naturally need to charge a premium because it was really late and meant serious overtime. We didn't want to do it, but pulling her out would have made waves in our industry and bound to get good words in the right ears due to the festival's size. So I call back organizer. Me. Organizer, I have great news. We can get down there later this afternoon and we will work non-stop over the next 2 days to get this done for you. Organizer. You are a lifesaver. Thank you all so much. Me. Now we will require 90% upfront payment and you can pay the remaining 10% after the install is complete. I will send you an invoice now, but please know the invoice will be a larger amount than before, approximately 30% more due to overtime and just being late. Pretty standard for an event this size. Organizer. But we had a contract. We have a set amount. You need to honor that. Me. You made us rip it up and threaten a lawsuit if we made you stick to it. Those are the prices. No other company in this city would be able to deliver what you are asking this late in the game. The price is the price. You can take it or leave it. Organizer. This is crazy. We had a contract. Throw some nasty words my way or how we are useless and going to get sued. Me. You have 2 hours to let me know if you want to move ahead, otherwise the stock will not be available. Goodbye. Long story short, she never called back and went ahead with the other supplier. The festival was a disaster. She had also charged independent mobile food vendors and retailers to be at this festival and charged them a premium for each spot. The vendors constantly lost power, water and had zero support during the show. So they naturally took her to court for their money back as they lost money attending the festival. She had to pay back all the businesses that had purchased a spot at the festival through a court order and lost her business. Then she tried to sue us and blame us for the whole catastrophe, but it didn't go far. Before you say it's sad she lost her livelihood, firstly, she should have canned that event there and then. It doesn't take an organizer to see this was in no way going to be successful. Secondly, we found out through industry people that she has done this before, but got away with it. So F her. She tried to personally sue me as well. Which didn't go far either, but still wasted a lot of my time. Next one is titled, Young and Rude Adults Refuse to Pay for Public Transport, but oh sweet revenge at the end of the day. I work as a train driver. I drive smaller trains mostly out on the countryside and people are generally nice and well behaved. But of course, there are also the alcoholics, drug addicts and general weirdos that use public transport, and some people that just live to be a pain in the butt. This was a few years ago. We were traveling in the late afternoon and my conductor, let's say C, storms into the driver's cabin, angry and annoyed, and tells me, C, we have 2 rude good-for-nothing guys on board and they're such a holes. Me. What did they do? C. They have no tickets, refuse to pay, just laughs up in my face and are saying, what are you gonna do about it? Me. What the hell, should I help you throw them off at the next stop? C. We can't because they're just traveling one station, so they're getting off at the next stop. God damn smug guys with their, what are you gonna do about it? So we're both angry. I let the conductor rant and let off some steam. Next stop comes and the guys get off. The conductor angrily gestures at them, that's them, duckers. We continue the short remaining journey and have a break at the end station. Some hours later the train then goes back. Since it's on the countryside and it's a late weekend evening, the train is almost empty on the way back. The conductor knows where every passenger on board is getting off and she's up at front with me, chatting and all is fine again, until we approach the station where we let those guys off. We see 2 people standing there. It is them. My conductor beside me shines up like a goddamn sun. She says, with the biggest smile on her face, do not stop. And I'm just laughing, slowing down the train, not stopping though. When we pass them my conductor opens the window, waves and says loud and happily, this is what I'm gonna do about it. The guys are just staring at her with their jaws on the ground when we drive past them. We laugh. All the way to our home station. We were the last train for the day. Edit. I wrote in the comments that we encountered these guys again a few weeks later. I'll post it here as well because these guys did not learn the first time. They apparently got on at the same station like last time but we didn't notice them. They had plans to travel further than last time. But when the conductor went out to check the tickets, it went like this. Conductor spots them, recognizes them, says loudly among the other travelers, "Ooh, are you able to pay for your tickets today?" They just fidget and say, "No, we ain't got no money." See? Well, ain't that a shame? Guess you have to get off at the next stop. Them. What the duck, can't you be nice and let us be? What the duck are we gonna do at that shitty station? See? Guys, I don't give a ducking damn. You're going off this train and you can walk to the next station, and I'm calling the train behind us so they won't pick you up either. They got off. The other train called us later because they saw the guys walking on a forest path along the railway track. And I haven't seen these guys since. Next one is titled, Why You Shouldn't Pick on the Quiet Kid Who Has Nothing to Lose. Not my revenge, but something I witnessed. The kid in my class who didn't really have any friends and who was always dressed like there was a snowstorm pull-off. Let's call him Kyle. Well, my sophomore year of high school, this game people called Tiger Claw became popular. Basically, you would tell Tiger Claw and slash at someone's face with your hand, and as they flinched from that, you would knee them hard in the crotch. It was a shitty couple of weeks. Well, the loner kid got absolutely nailed in the nuts by one of the bully jocks, Jeff, one day and came up with a plan. He wore an athletic cup to school the next day. Well, apparently those are not too much fun to hit with your knee because Jeff let out quite a yell when he tried to Tiger Claw Kyle the next day. Well, Kyle was a common victim of the bully and knew his mo. Jeff loved to sucker punch people in the gut, so Kyle was prepared. Kyle was in a machining class and had taken a plate of steel from his class and covered his stomach with it under his puffy jacket. I am sure that Jeff tried to punch Kyle as hard as he could because he ended up breaking multiple bones in his hand and ducked up the knuckles bad. The school cops got involved and it was a whole deal. Due to school rules where anyone involved in a fight gets suspended, both kids were out for a while. Kyle was a ducking hero to those of us who had been Jeff's victims, and he definitely moved up in the social hierarchy after that. I know Jeff's family tried to get Kyle in legal trouble, but I never really heard what came of that. I didn't really know either of them other than being on the baseball team with Jeff. Rumors flew but no one ever confirmed anything. Jeff had his hand in a cast for months and missed the entire baseball season. He was pretty good, and never fully got his pitching back to where it was before the injury. The school put a stop to Tiger Claw after that. It always pissed me off that it took until one of the bullies got injured for anyone to step up. Next one is titled, You Lied to HR to Get Me Fired? Well, good luck facing the wrath of the management. This happened back in 2016. I was still working at a hotel in the marketing department. And yes, what I did was really petty, I have to admit. But in the heat of the moment, I felt really justified doing it to my coworker for intentionally causing me to lose my job. I was in charge of handling and organizing daily online and offline reservations that we received. Since my first day, I had already felt that this guy, Chris, kind of disliked me for whatever reasons. He was always cold and at times could be really mean to me. At first I just brushed it off as me being too sensitive since working at a hotel could be really exhausting, especially during weekends. But that's not the case. He was friendly to other people. Later I found out the reason why he hated me so much was because he blamed me for his boyfriend not getting the job. Apparently his boyfriend was getting really close to getting hired before I showed up and impressed the human resources. One day I was called into HR's office and they informed me that I had made a huge error when handling a reservation from this huge mining company. A few weeks before, they had booked 100 rooms for April 25 to 27. Chris was the one who received and made this reservation. The problem was, Chris had put the wrong date on our system. They were supposed to check in on 24 and check out on 27. And our room occupancy had reached 90% on April 24th. There was no way we could check them in that day. Our manager was upset. And Chris of course lied and put the blame on me, telling everyone that I was the one who put the wrong date on the reservation. Unfortunately, since he had made the reservation on my computer without my knowing, they could trace it back to my ID, thus proving I was the one who had made it. They would not listen to me when I tried to tell them that I had not put that reservation on our system and that Chris had lied. so they fired me. I was so dumbfounded, bitter and extremely angry. But there was nothing I could do. They chose to believe Chris, who had been working there for 4 years. On my last day, I confronted him again. I was feeling really hurt and extremely betrayed. I mean, how could he lie to everyone? I was never one to make a scene and always tried to avoid conflicts, so I tried to ask him why as civil as possible. But he dismissed me and told me I should have done my job better. I decided I could not wait until my shift was over to go home. I was disgusted, disappointed, and furious. When lunchtime arrived, I started gathering my things and he yelled at me. "Chris, what do you think you're doing?" Me. "I'm going home." Chris. "No, you're not. I know it's your last day, but you can't just leave before your shift is over. Unless you want me to tell HR and they won't give you your reference letter for disregarding the resignation policy." Me. "Yeah, duck you. Duck you for being such an ugly liar." He started laughing at me and then called me a loser before walking out. Then as I was getting ready to leave, a chat window popped up on his computer screen, which he had forgotten to lock. It was from Mr. Lee, one of the most prominent and most important shareholders in the management. "Mr. Lee. Hi. I was wondering if you still had rooms available for tomorrow." Me. Fully aware that our occupation had reached 100% the following day. "Good day, Mr. Lee." "Oh yes. We're still available. Would you like to make a reservation, sir?" Mr. Lee. 5 smoking rooms please, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 2 included. Same floor. Mountain view. And pickup service from the airport at 7 a.m. Also early check-in at 9 a.m. These people are important business partners of mine. So please make sure they enjoy their stay there." Me. "Noted, Mr. Lee. I have already made your reservation on our system," which was a lie, of course. "Anything else I can do for you, sir?" Mr. Lee. "Who am I speaking to?" Me, beaming broadly. "Chris, surname, Mr. Lee. Thank you. Have a great day." Me. "You're welcome. Have a great day." ETA. The chat was an added feature on the hotel's booking website. So it's the name of the hotel which appeared on the screen as in the one that answered all the questions. And as someone has kindly pointed out, how a non-native English speaker could remember verbatim how the conversations went. They weren't in English. And this story wasn't meant to be a documentary, now was it? So when I wrote the conversation, I tried to remember how it had actually happened and include all the important points that we talked about. Last one is titled, "Disrespect Me? Get shut down and blacklisted." So I used to work as a waiter at a fairly okay steakhouse around the US. Enjoyed my job, got great satisfaction from making people happy, had regulars who loved me and would only come in to see me, even long after the menu items they originally came for stopped being offered. Well, the company decides that this particular location needs a new general manager. This is someone who was, as it turns out, fired from his last GM position for toxic behaviors, including but not limited to sexual harassment of younger female staff. Alright, no big. I can roll with pretty much anything. Mostly because I'm very out about being LGBT, specifically the T part, and surround myself with friends and family who are totally cool with that. GM is an older gentleman, conservatively raised, and incredibly vocal about his personal politics, including, oddly enough, something about there being more trees in North America now than there has ever been, and how global warming is good because all those trees need all that carbon dioxide anyway. Odd fellow, not very well educated, but this is lower-end management at best anyway, so what can you expect? Well, as I've said, I was very much out at work, and so would, when appropriate, gently remind my coworkers that certain pronouns are maybe not the best used when referring to me. In reference to the GM, though this fellow would go out of his way to refer to me using an incorrect honorific American South ma'am and sir are just things everyone says regardless. It happens, I get that. But twice in every sentence is not an accident. Going out of his way to dig up my dead name, the name I used before transition, also not an accident. Well, I'd been hearing from other staff that the new GM was being incredibly derogatory towards me when I wasn't around as well, and decided that the mature thing to do would be to approach him in private and ask him about it. Maybe give him a chance to ask any questions he might have, or at least come to a mutual agreement, preferably one that doesn't include deliberately misgendering honorifics. Turns out he'd rather have that conversation at the front door, while guests of the restaurant are still entering and exiting, despite my repeated requests to talk to him in a more private place. I bring up my concerns. Not only are they true, but he's been frothing at the bit to have this conversation with me, and spends the next solid 20 minutes lecturing me. I barely got in 3 full sentences. This man also doesn't know that interrupting is inappropriate in a discussion. He brings up the fact that he has a degree in biology. Yeah, so do I. But mine is 30 years more recent than his, guaranteed. He brings up the fact that it's rude, childish, and stupid for me to even ask him to consider not using the honorific he's decided is appropriate. He even goes so far to try to explain how chromosomes work to me, and clearly doesn't understand at all how chromosomes work. In any species, Homo sapiens included. So here's the revenge part. I had taken about 2 weeks off, to be started the next day, in order to visit family in another part of the world for the first time in several years. So I simply went in the next day and told an office full of managers to not worry about putting me on the schedule come time. 2 weeks off equals 2 weeks notice. No big. Got to fly the bird, in America, a rude gesture involving the middle finger alone, at GM, who was in the office with other managers at the time. Now that I was no longer employed at company, I was free to speak of my experience without fear of consequence. So I spoke to friends, spoke to allies, spoke to legal teams, all about this obvious discrimination and attempted bullying by someone in a position of power, in a part of the United States with very defined fairness ordinances explicitly in place to prevent LGBT discrimination in a city that is known by the region as being a hub for LGBT treatment and opportunity and resources and community. Friends called our. Other coworkers contacted me about issues they'd had with the GM in the same vein. I included these dates, times, names, witnesses, contact information for those who consented in my own formal report. More friends called our. And then more friends called our. So many people called to complain to the restaurant's public resources team that they would no longer ever come to said restaurant if this was the kind of behavior that was accepted as representing the company. The company closed the entire location within a week, and the GM has apparently been utterly blacklisted from the restaurant business in the city/county due to this scandal. Apparently it was more money than it was worth to fight the scandal, and the restaurant chain decided to cut their losses and close the site entirely. I would like to add that staff were heftily compensated, transferred, offered opportunities elsewhere, and no one was kicked to the curb for being an innocent bystander. But it feels so good to pass by the now derelict building and think to myself, I did that. Frick that guy. That guy was awful. Thanks for listening.